Is AI coming to streaming people like Disney, HBO, Netflix in particular? Is it coming, and how will they leverage it? If you
Being someone who worked inside of one of these places, there's people who are very interested in this, right? So
Mhm.
there's no reason to me to think that there aren't teams who are experimenting with machine learning and AI to figure out if they can automate certain parts of content, because the most expensive part for any streaming service is the producing of content. And that's because you have to have writers, you have to have directors, producers, actors, whatever. It's one of the reasons why animation has become so popular, because at least there's one less cost there. You don't have the same price points for actors and things like that. Now, having said that, I don't think there's anyone who's even remotely close to actually operationalizing it. Like, it's still experiments that are happening on the back end. And the other thing about AI, so AI is very interesting because in theory, AI can ingest every single script that's ever been written. And then you could also have next to it saying, by the way, and then this is how much the best scripts cost. And so you could say, create like $100 million script for me, and I think it could still fail tremendously, because I think that writing stories is slightly different than writing content. So, do I think an AI could create a really great Lifetime S movie or Tubi S movie? Absolutely. Right. I think today there's probably an AI that could do that. It could make a movie, and I probably would watch it. Give me like a little wine. I'm trying to wind down on like a Friday. I don't want anything serious. I think it could probably create that piece of content right now. I wouldn't surprise me if something like that exists. Now, do I think that AI is going to create the next Moonlight? Maybe not. Primarily because the other thing about this is that AI can only consume what has already been created that is easily accessible. It cannot access my story, right? It can't access your story. It can't access the millions or billions of people who have been historically ignored by media company stories. So there's, to me, there's a certain lack of depth. Even last Avengers Infinity War, I did not expect to cry in an Avengers movie. And I was like, I'm like one of them tough people. I'm like, whatever. I don't really get, I'm like, whatever. Only like a few, like Beaches makes me cry. I cry every time I watch Beaches. There's like a couple movies where I'm like, all right, that gets me choked up. And I did not expect to go to Avengers Infinity War and cry on the first part of it. And on the second one, I didn't expect to jump out of my seat when the ladies came in formation and were like, I honestly, they should have put Beyonce formation in the background, because that's what it felt like. It was like, all right, ladies, line up because we about to whoop these people's asses, right? And I was just like, cool. I'm not sure an AI could ever create that type of emotional connection moment for a piece of content, or at least the AI that exists now.
I think that AI is coming. It already is here, and it will accomplish these things that you're saying in much shorter time frame than you're laying out. I think at the beginning it will be human assisted, of course. All the moving pieces are there. We're talking about labeling, and I honestly think that if Netflix wants to truly be considered a tech company, they need to incorporate AI generated content. Where they could test this is in the children's department, anything that's very easy to create to test this idea.
Mhm.
But the technology exists. And you can take a look at this technology that exists for something like, let's say, Pandora, one of the
Mhm.
best AI algorithms that can choose music based on attributes. And they spent a lot of time dissecting the different parts of music, just how many labels they have for each song that they can then correlate and find a matching or K nearest neighbor to select. And you just have a really good experience with that. You can do this. Movies follow a template a lot like music does. There are 12 notes in music, there are certain chords, there are popular chords. You can absolutely create an algorithm that says, here are the top 20 Michael Jackson songs in his entire career, or all the songs that stayed on the charts for more than 100 weeks. You can take that, you can learn it, and say, now create me something new that borrows from that. This is your inspiration. And it will absolutely do it. It's already doing it today. We already have AI generated original music that's happening. The same concept can be done with scripts. There are movies, the rom com is a template, the thriller is a template, the these are all like templates, and you can label movies and say this was the top performing rom com. I don't know what the output would be. You would need human review, But do I believe that we can generate unique synopses of a story or unique titles, and then you would get human writers to go in ahead and flesh that out?
I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying that I'm not sure that it would be of the quality necessary to be like the top 25, top 50.
Like I said,
Like,
I think that it's going to be human assisted. It'll be the industry's dirty little secret. People will get inspiration from it. You know what I mean? Someone will test it and say spit out an entire script, especially if we're writing for Lifetime. I really want to decrease the cost of making this or whatever. This is something I'm going to spit out over the weekend. It's going to be shot in 7 days. Yeah, sure. Also, with just how much competition there is in streaming, that means that there's so much more need for more writers. You're not going to create new script writers overnight. That, you know what I'm saying? Like someone who's writing for HBO can't also at the same time be writing and developing for Hulu and for Disney and for Netflix and for all of the other streaming services and for Paramount and for, you see what I'm saying? There's an explosion of need. We're gonna have to fill this need. We now have non-linear content. Like there's no time frame. There used to be a prime time television time. None of that exists now. It's now just a deluge of who has the most content. How many minutes of the day can I capture your attention? I need more and more and more content. So someone's gonna try
yeah,
it for sure.
true. I definitely feel like someone's going to try it. I am ultimately saying is that the Netflix model is not going to work long term. Like extreme amounts of content
Yeah.
that you have access to instantly. I think that
Yeah.
they're going to have to claw back and have less content. HBO Max, the House of Dragons, House of the Dragon. I don't know what it is. I'm black. I don't know what the actual name of the show is. I just call it what I call it. Anyway, the Dragon Show on HBO Max. It legitimately had numbers like Game of Thrones. It's like 9.9, 10 million viewers, which are numbers that people have not seen in recent history for most shows. And that show took, what, 3 years to bake? 4 years to bake? Something like that. And in fact, it was one of the two options.
Yeah. You're always going to have those outliers, though. You're always going to have those outliers who pull those kind of numbers. But again, I think 10 million viewers is sounds like a lot now, but back in the 90s, that probably would have been a 15 million, 20 million. The
Oh, yeah.
attention span is just so bifurcated these days that it will always be the Game of Thrones and the House of Dragons that are premium content. There is still a need for the deluge, and AI is coming to the deluge first. Let's just say that.